For 9.9, our first thing to do is identify types of functions in writing explicit equations. Based on the given representation of a function, determine if the function is linear, exponential, or neither. For the first, this is in a recursive form. I read through, my first term is negative 19. In order to find the next term, I need to add 13. When it says to add 13, that signals to me that it is a linear function. Next, I have my first term is 2. To find the next term, I would multiply it by 3. When I'm multiplying, that tells me that it is exponential. My first term is 15. To find the next term, I would need to plug in a 1 or plug in a 2 and add whatever value that is. But you will notice it's not a constant value. It is a linear value because we have attached onto my function. This would be identified as neither. Later on, in Math 2, you will learn that it is called quadratic. But for now on your assignment, you will be labeling it as neither. Second form is explicit form. When I have x squared, some of you will think, oh, exponent. This is a 2 in the power. That will make it neither, which once again, later on, you will come to find that it is called quadratic. In order for it to be an exponential, it has to be a variable in the power. So when I have a variable in the power, that is when it's identified as exponential. Versus, when there's a power of 2, it's a quadratic. The middle one, I have mx plus b, which would be called now identifying what a table is. When I look at my pattern, I'm going to be adding 25 to 36, I would add 11, and I would add 13. This would be identified as neither. When I look at this pattern, 8 was divided by 5, then divide by 5 again, 5 again. Because the top is always an 8, 1 over 5. The top would multiply by 1, which means it stays the same. The bottom would divide by 5, which would make it 25, and then that is exponential. Second question, it's trying to trick you, it's out of order. I'm going to organize it. 2 is at negative 14. 6 is at negative 30. 7, negative 34. 9, negative 42. From 6 to 7, it's subtracting 4, which means if I go from 7 to 9, that's 2 of them, which would be subtracting 8. Negative 34 minus 8 is negative 42. So because this was one step and this is a 2-step, these are actually the same. They're subtracting 4 every step throughout. This would be linear. Whenever they're adding or subtracting, it's linear. Multiplying or dividing, exponential. Now I look at my graph. The graph on the left, exponential, neither, linear. our new material, we are going to create a relative frequency table. I'm going to fill in the first table. For my first period, how many passed, failed, total students. Total students is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20. Passed, so they have to score a 6. They have to score a 6 or better to pass. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I count the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11. Which makes sense because 9 and 11 make the total 20. 2, second period. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 students. I'm going to count all that are above 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 6 or better, sorry. 8 passed. Did not pass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which I check adds up to 15. So we're good. We got all of our values. Third period. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 students tested. Passed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Below 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. I check. That adds up to 15. I then need to find the totals. So the total that passed and the total that failed. Total students together. So I would do 9 plus 8, 17, 19, 18, 23. 11 plus 7 is 18. 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 20 plus 15 is 35. 50. And then check. 23 plus 27 is also 50. 50. Now that I have my table filled in for all the students that I've tested, I'm going to now create the relative frequency. I'm going to take this table and divide every number by my overall total 50. So divide every number by the total, which in this case is 50. So I would type in. A little squishy. 9 divided by 50. 0.1. 11 divided by 50. 0.22. 20 divided by 50. 0.4. 8 divided by 50. 7 divided by 50. 15 divided by 50. 6 divided by 50. 9 divided by 50. 15 divided by 50. So 0.12. 0.18. 0.3. 23 divided by 50. 27 divided by 50. 50 divided by 50. 0.46, 0.54. If I wanted to have percentages for the assignment, I'm going to leave it as decimal. But if I wanted it as a percent, this is just a side note, 0.18 is really 18% of the students. 0.16 is 16%. So the total that passed would be 46% passed. And 54% failed. If I pulled data from here and wanted it as a percent rather than a decimal. So on your assignment, all you'll need to do is fill in your table and then create the relative frequencies with decimal points. The last section of your assignment is solving formulas. For the first question, you solve for x. To get x alone, I need to subtract the 5y. 3x equals, you can write it in any order. You can write 6 minus 5y or negative 5y plus 6. It does not matter the order you write it in. I would then divide by 3. That would leave x alone. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 5 divided by 3 will simplify. There's my solution. If I have the same question, and it wants me to solve for y, that means I need to move the x. So I would minus the 3x. Then I would divide by the 5. 6 divided by 5 won't simplify. 3 divided by 5 won't simplify. Make sure the x is on that fraction. I need to solve for x. To get x alone. All right. So those are my steps. So for my first step on this one, I'm going to get x alone, which means I will first add the 4y, because it's a minus 4y, I add it. 2x equals 12 plus 4y. And then I'll divide by 2, which gives me x is 6 plus 2 with the y on it. Same equation. Wants me to solve for y this time. My first step is I'm going to subtract the 2x. It's a positive 2x, so I will minus it. Negative 4y equals 12 minus 2x. This I need to be careful and divide by a negative 4, which means I will change signs. I have to watch the signs. That gives me 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. 2 negatives make a plus. 2 over 4 reduces to 1 half with an x on it. Next question. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. They want me to find a. First, I'm going to subtract the b squared. I want it away from the a that I'm trying to get along. That would give me a squared equals c squared minus b squared. Then to get rid of the power, I'm going to square root it to get rid of that little power. So my answer would be a equals the square root of c squared minus b squared. Don't cross off the powers. When there's a plus or minus sign, I can't cross them off and simplify it. So my final answer would look like this. I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It wants me to get c alone. Hey, it's almost alone. All I have to do is get rid of the power by square root. Square root, square root. That is my formula in order to get c alone. I have s equals pi r squared L plus pi r squared. And it wants me to get the L by itself. In order to get L by itself, I first need to subtract, get rid of that plus sign. So that would give me s minus pi r squared is pi r squared with an L attached. So I minus that away. Second step, I divide. I want L alone, so I divide by pi and r squared. And That will cancel those out and leave L by itself. S minus pi r squared divided by pi r squared equals L. This one is a little weird. I don't think you'll have one this difficult on your assignment. But if you do have one, it wants me to find pi. But I don't know if you noticed that there are 2 pi's. So this is a little difficult. I'm going to take the pi out from both, which is something you have not seen before. So if I take the pi out, I would have an r squared with an L plus an r squared. Now, because pi is attached to this whole piece through multiplication, I can just divide. By both sides. Which tells me s divided by r squared L plus r squared. And I'm actually going to not put that parentheses. I don't have to, as long as my line goes all the way. I just have to make sure my line for my fraction goes all the way over it. Equals pi. I have a equals pi r squared. I want r alone. I first divide by pi. And square root it. Second way to solve it is if I want pi alone, then I would divide by r squared. And pi is alone, I don't have to do anything else. As you finish up this assignment, or if you get stuck on this assignment, log on to the Google Meet and let me know if you have questions.